Hello guys, very good morning. Welcome to the new sessions of Docker and Kubernetes given by DURGASOFT, and I will be your trainer for the entire sessions. So my name is Chaitanya. So let me introduce about myself, and then we will go into the concepts of what is meant by Docker and what is meant by Kubernetes and how we are going to work with this Docker and Kubernetes concepts. So when we are talking about before Docker and Kubernetes, I'm Chaitanya and I'm having 13 years of experience into the IT industry. Currently, I'm working as an DevSecOps engineer in the level 5 position. So I am into the research and development. I am having my certifications related to Red Hat, and I'm having my certifications related to AWS, and I'm having the certifications related to Kubernetes. I'm a certified Kubernetes administrator. So these are the certifications that I'm having. And when you come to the Docker and Kubernetes, okay. So what is this Docker and Kubernetes? We'll discuss about this concept. What is this Docker and Kubernetes? But before we discuss about this concept, can you please tell me why you want to learn Docker and Kubernetes? There are so many people who are attending to the session. So I have only one question that there might be developers, there might be system administrators, there might be the people who are attending, who might be a fresher. So my question is, why you want to learn Docker and Kubernetes? Anyone, can you please start?
To make easy deployment process.
No, that's okay. So we going to use Docker and Kubernetes to make easy. My question is, try to understand it very clearly. So if in your company, is there any requirement is there to learn Docker and Kubernetes, or it is your interest to learn to enhance your skills? Like that, I'm asking. Why you want to learn Docker and Kubernetes?
Actually, I want to improve my skills as well as a recent project. We are deploying my application and using Docker and Kubernetes. So that's why I'm going to learn.
Are you a developer, or just tell me about your experience?
Actually, I'm technical lead and I'm having around 10 years experience. Okay. Before that, I'm working on CI/CD pipeline using Azure DevOps. Okay. Now we are moving from to CI/CD to containerizations.
Okay, so you have the full-fledged CI/CD pipeline related to, related with Azure DevOps, and you have deployed the servers and you deployed the application inside the servers. Now you are moving to the containerization. That is what.
Right.
Yes. So you are into the DevOps actually.
No. Actually, I'm a developer. Okay. I'm recently working on generative AI.
Okay.
Along with Kubernetes and Docker. So I didn't have an experience about Kubernetes. I have a little bit experience about it. I know how to deploy it, how to make a containerization, but exactly how, in detail, I don't know, to be honest.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Shubham. Any another person who want to introduce about themselves and let me know about what you want to learn Kubernetes, Docker and Kubernetes. Come on, guys. I want the people who are more interactive. Yes, I.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sai.
My name is Sai. Actually, I am a 2024 passed out, sir. Recently, 2 months back, I took a course called AWS with Doves, but I am not getting much about this Docker and Kubernetes. So I want to learn from you. I heard a lot about you, sir, from my friends.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fine, guys. Any another person? Okay. So I don't want to waste your time related to that. If you are interested, you can please introduce about yourself. Otherwise, let us go into the main concept of Docker and Kubernetes. So before I go into the concepts of every Docker and Kubernetes, what will be the timings of this session and how many days it is going to take, and what you are going to learn this entire Docker and Kubernetes. First of all, I will clarify all these things, and then we will go a little bit technical. I don't want to make you more and more confusing, and as well as more and more into the first day. I don't want to take you into more technicalities. Okay. The first one is the timings. Class timings will be at 8:30 a.m. Every day we will have a session at 8:30 a.m. This will be on weekdays only. Okay. So that is Monday to Friday, you will have the session. And one weekend I will take in this entire course. We are going to, I will take only one weekend, the full fledged week I am going to take. And the duration will be whatever the course that we are completing, the duration will be 25 days, 25 working days that we are going to cover this entire session. And within 25 days, what we are going to cover, I will tell you. So in this 25 days, we are going to talk about complete Docker and Kubernetes. Okay. What is this Docker and what is this Kubernetes? So Docker is a containerization platform. So in this, we are going to learn purely about containers. Okay. So the first one will be introduction to Docker. Introduction to Docker. What is Docker and why we want the containerization? This will completely come under the basics of Docker. Okay. So I will simply call them basics of Docker. So what is the Docker architecture? How containers will be created? What is meant by a container? These things. And the second one is Docker networking. Docker networking. And the third one will be Docker images, Docker image creation, and multi-stage Docker configuration. Okay, multi-stage Docker image configuration. And the fourth one will be Docker volumes. And fifth, we will discuss about Docker Compose. And with the help of Docker Compose, how we can generate an application. So I will just show you an e-commerce application, not very big application, but a basic e-commerce application, how we are creating that and how we are going to deploy that. Okay, just a sample application. Don't expect that we are going to go with the full-fledged Amazon. I am not a developer. So from starting, I am a system administrator. I started my journey as a system administrator. So I'm purely into servers. Okay, system administrator, and then I worked as a senior system administrator. Then I have joined into the DevOps. Now, after that, senior DevOps engineer. Now I am a DevSecOps engineer, where I am working in the research and development team. We are working with the intelligence that we are going to integrate AI into our DevOps. So this is the process actually. So don't expect that I will be discussing into the developer terms. Of course, I will be talking about Maven, or else if there is any application. Why? Because we should have a knowledge as a DevOps engineer. We should have a basic knowledge about how we can build an application. So at that stage, I will talk about there is an application and how we can build the application. That I will talk, but not about the complete process of how to develop the application. Those are not. Don't expect from. Okay, and then finally we are going to discuss about the sixth one will be Docker Swarm. Okay, so Docker Swarm is an orchestration platform which is at developer level. So with this, we complete the containerization. Then we will start the orchestration. Of course, we already started it with the Docker Swarm, but the most important tool of orchestration is Kubernetes. So in this Kubernetes, we are going to discuss about introduction to Kubernetes, introduction to microservices, monolithic versus microservices architecture, and then Kubernetes architecture. We are going to discuss about Kubernetes architecture, and then we will be discussing about creating the full-fledged Kubernetes cluster. So you might be, I mean, the people who has already learned or else they have the basic understanding, you might be checking the Kubernetes on the Minikube. But I don't want to tell you on Minikube. We will be going with a full-fledged Kubernetes cluster deployment, either on-premises Kubernetes deployment with kubeadm, or we will be deploying the Kubernetes cluster with the KOps. KOps is another tool which will be helpful to create the cluster in the AWS environment. So my entire topics will be whatever the topics that I am discussing. My topics will be discussed in the AWS environment only. So here you don't need to have a complete full-fledged knowledge about AWS, but a basic knowledge of AWS is required. What is EC2 instance and how we can create the EC2 instances. If you have that knowledge, that's more than enough. So with the help of KOps, KOps means Kubernetes operations, we are going to create another Kubernetes cluster, which is in the production grade. So whatever I am talking, it will be completely into the production grade. So how we are going to work in your company environment, that we are going to discuss. So now KOps is also applicable for the Azure. So the people who has this confusion, so can we use the KOps in Azure? Yes, you can use in Azure also. Who will be much habituated into the Azure, so they can create the KOps in Azure also. If possible, I will try to explain how you can create the KOps in the Azure also. Okay, so that you can have a clear-cut understanding about the multi-cloud Kubernetes deployment in AWS and as well as in Azure with the help of KOps. But for Azure, it will be in the beta stage, as per my knowledge. We'll see about that. And the third one will be, once we have created the Kubernetes cluster, we will be discussing about workload components. Workload components are the first and foremost thing is that we will be discussing about pods, replica set, deployment, and stateful set, daemon set. These are all the topics that we are going to cover. And then we will be discussing about the services. There are multiple types of services that are available. What is meant by service and how we are going to work with that. In this Kubernetes itself, we will be discussing about a few more topics like CNI, okay, container network interface, and CRI, okay, container runtime interface. All these concepts we are going to cover in this basics itself. Don't worry about that. So that you will get a clarity about the networking components and as well as the containerization components. Here, when we are creating the Kubernetes, we will be first deploying the Docker. Of course, Kubernetes has ruled out the support for Docker, but still, how we can have to install Kubernetes with the help of Docker, that I will show you. And the next one is services. In services, we will be discussing about cluster IP. Okay, so if you are unable to understand what I am talking, don't worry. This is just the syllabus which I am showing you. If you have prior knowledge, you can ask me the questions on the syllabus. If you don't have any prior knowledge, just look out the syllabus. And later, when we go in detail about the concepts, you will get a clarity about that. So don't worry that I'm telling you something different, or else I'm telling you some concepts that are not the concept that you don't know. Once we have clear out what is the syllabus, and then when we go into the topics, you will get a clarity about each and everything. So we will discuss about services like cluster IP, node port, load balancer, and external name. And there is another service called as headless service also. We'll talk about that. So these are the services that we are going to cover in the services section of Kubernetes. And finally, then we will come to the ingress controller. How to deploy an ingress controller, how to connect the application to the ingress controller. We will be discussing about Nginx ingress controller. There will be so many ingress controllers. Among those, we are going to discuss about the Nginx ingress controller. And then we'll discuss about probes. In probes, again, we will be having startup probe, liveliness probe, and readiness probes. And we'll discuss about sidecar containers like init containers. And then we'll discuss about adapter containers and ambassador containers. And these are the sidecar containers that we are discussing. And then we'll be discussing about sidecar containers and advanced scheduling. In advanced scheduling, we will be discussing about the concepts related to node selector, node affinity, pod anti-affinity, and finally taints and tolerations. This will come under the advanced scheduling. And then we'll discuss about the concepts related to RBAC, role-based access control, how to create the users in Kubernetes and how to assign the roles, how to assign the permissions in the Kubernetes. And finally, we'll working with the storage, Kubernetes storage concept. In storage, we'll discuss about empty directory, EBS volumes, persistent volume claims, and then storage classes, dynamic provisioning, EFS configuration. So like that, we will be having so many different topics that we will be covering the Kubernetes storage. And we'll discuss about HPA versus VPA configuration. HPA versus VPA in the sense horizontal pod auto scaling and vertical pod auto scaling. And then we'll discuss about CRD, custom resource deployments in Kubernetes. We'll discuss about them. And network policies will be there. I don't want to include the network policies into the syllabus, but yes, I will discuss about the network policies. It will take some 20 to 30 minutes to cover the topic. And finally, we will come to the most important topic that is Helm charts. Okay, so we will be discussing about the Helm charts and STO service mesh. Okay, how we can create an STO service mesh. What is STO service mesh? These concepts we'll discuss. And finally, we'll talk about GitOps. Okay, under GitOps, we will discuss about the Argo CD. And if there is any chance, if the time is sufficient, then we will discuss about the CI/CD pipelining of the entire Docker and Kubernetes, how we can integrate that with the Jenkins. Okay, these concepts we are going to cover in this entire 25 days of topics. So it might be more than 25 days also. As per my commitment, I am going to tell you that we will be covering in 25 days, but sometimes what is going to happen due to the nature of the topic and whatever we are discussing, we are talking about, sometimes I may be including any new topic into that. At that particular stage, it will be going around 25 to 30 days also. And sometimes it will be 8:30 to 9:30 IST. The timings will be 8:30 to 9:30 IST, but it might be go up beyond the 9:30 also. Some days it can go up to 10 o'clock also. Not every day I will take the session up to 10 o'clock, but a few days related to the session, related to the topic, it might be prolonged up to 10 o'clock also. Anyways, so these are the concepts that we are going to discuss. So which will be into the production level, we will be discussing, we will be talking about. So what are the resources that we can create if there is any problem, how we are going to troubleshoot that. Even troubleshooting will be given for you. And finally, I will provide you the documentation. Every day you are going to get the videos and documents. Document related to the topic. Okay, whatever the documents related to the topics. Okay. So that is the concept, the core concept which we are going to discuss. Any questions here? Any questions related to the syllabus? Of course, the people who don't know about what we have, what we are going to discuss, but anyone who is having any little bit knowledge about that, you can ask me the questions. Otherwise, we will go into the concepts.
I have one question, Chaitanya.
Mhm.
In our Docker in container, we are giving the security for the image file.
Yeah,
In
in the
in
images, we will discuss about that.
and we have some other topics also, multi-service application where we are composing and we are fasting.
Multi-stage that I already discussed.
Okay, and which one we are using CI/CD pipeline? We have a different one, right? Argo
No,
CDs or
Argo CD is not a CI/CD pipe. Argo CD comes under the GitOps. Okay.
so
Then we
here as a being a Java developer, so our application will deploy it in our we created this image file and we are doing the testing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
that is what you adopt. I mean, that is what you want to get the clarified with that.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Any tools we are using like Grafana or something?
That we will discuss in the monitoring. We'll discuss about, I mean, a few monitoring tools, not about the any another thing. Like here, I did not mention that. So we'll be discussing about not related to the development, but related to the Kubernetes. We'll discuss about Elastic, like what I can say, ELK. Okay, ELK will be introduced, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. And then we'll discuss about the Prometheus and Grafana, introducing with another tools, a few more tools. Okay.
Okay. In our Kubernetes, we have some config map also and secrets that will be discussed here.
That is also going to be discussed. Yeah, I did
Okay.
not include it. That will comes under the storage. But anyways, I did not include that. I will discuss about that also. That's why I said you, it might be going across 25 to 30 days. Okay. I just gave you a briefing. Some topics might be missed out of my mind. But anyways, as you asked me, so secrets and config maps we'll discuss, and how to connect the secrets and config maps into the deployment configuration, that we'll discuss about that.
Yeah, because we need to provide the security for ports also and vault securities and everything.
Security related concepts, see that will be entirely coming into another topic. But yeah, the basic concepts of security we will discuss. Okay.
Okay. So you will show the integration for Spring Cloud Kubernetes integration, everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions, guys? Okay, good. As there are no questions, and I don't know. See, one thing I just want to make very, very clear about the sessions: how much you respond to the concepts, that much you are going to get. If you are sitting ideal and just watching or listening to the topic, then I will just go through the topic only. I will explain you what is a cluster IP, and I will show you the practical and close the batch. I mean, close the session. How much you talk, or else how much you interact with the trainer, that much you will get from the trainer.
But
Okay.
Chaitanya, most of the pupils don't know DevOps team because I am a Java developer and most of the things we don't know. That's the reason pupils are silent.
No. I am not asking you to, like, I don't want you to talk about the technicalities. I am asking about whether you understand or not. If you say yes or no, that's more than enough. No, it is not like I want you to talk to me like in a technical manner, sir. I'm a Java developer. I have knowledge on Spring Boot. So whether the Spring
No,
Boot
actually,
applications will, yeah.
no, just now you said if you not give the response, then we can close the topics. Means I
Yeah, that
don't
is
have
what.
experience. I don't have
See, one second.
experience on.
Let me clear the statement here first. What I asked you if you understand the topic, you have to give the response. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the response? If you understand, say yes or no. If you don't understand, talk to me, sir. I did not understand this particular point. If you can re-explain that, I will try to explain. No other faculty will give you this opportunity, right? So that is what I'm
Yeah.
talking.
Because
And
we are the completely blank in this because we don't know anything.
I don't ask you the questions in the beginning of the topic, no.
Mm-hmm. No,
You,
actually,
you might ask you might be blank in the session at the beginning, but once I talk about the topic in the session, you will get a clarity about the topic, no. Once you
mm-hmm.
get a clarity only, then you will ask me the questions, no. That is what I'm talking. Interact with the
Mm.
faculty, interact with the trainer. Okay, so if you interact with the trainer, you will get more knowledge.
Yeah.
Got it?
Chaitanya,
Yeah, Shubham.
hello. Yeah, anything related to AWS you are going to trend here? Like, I mean, actually, I
No,
attended earlier classes as well. That's why I'm just little confused. Little the AWS and relationship between AWS and Kubernetes and Docker.
no. Relatability in the sense we are going to create the clusters in AWS. Okay.
Okay, okay. So do we
We
need to
will be
create account,
few.
right? Create account there.
Yeah,
You mean to?
if you
Okay.
have an AWS account, that will be good. Okay, so otherwise, yeah, it is better to have an AWS account. I don't want to make very
Okay. Okay.
telling you another line and making you confused. Create an
Okay.
AWS account. We will deploy the configuration in the AWS account. Okay,
Okay. I got it.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, Pawan, you are about to ask something.
Yeah, yes. So in the you mentioned CI/CD with the Jenkins, right? So do you covering any like a project end to end like RBAC networking,
Yeah, that
integrating
will
with
be
the
covered in the
monitoring
CI/CD itself. That
CI/CD
will be
pipelines,
covered.
right?
Yeah, CI/CD.
Okay, yeah. So post like after this completion of this course, like what level of knowledge we can get? Like example, I'm giving like 1 year,
You
like
can
2 years.
clear out the certification related to CK, Certified
CKA.
Kubernetes Administrator. Yeah.
Okay, so I can make it like a 3 years experience guy, right? I can showcase in, like
You
after
can
this
you can get
this.
an 3 years of experience into the. I mean, as a 3 years of experience guy, how much knowledge you are going to get? That knowledge you will get for sure.
Okay, so actually I'm the platform guy.
Mm.
Previous actually last 8 years I was working in like a VMware and Windows. The last 1.5 year, 2 years actually I'm working basically in Azure. So platform basically I'm deploying the services. So that's what this course is actually, I want to more on Kubernetes and Dockers to deploy the application. So that level of, I want to look in the knowledge. I'm not a developer. I'm mostly looking for a platform related and infra related.
Yeah, I can assure you that you will get a knowledge related to the deployments, how we can create a deployment and how we can run that, and if there any problem like this, how we can resolve the issues. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Clarification on this.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, guys. Let us go with the concept of understanding what is this containers. Anyways, so this is the syllabus which we are going to cover. I know that if you people doesn't know the entire concept of Docker and Kubernetes, what is at least you don't know about the Docker also, no problem. It will be very happy that to tell you about the introduction to Docker and giving the entire clarity about Docker and Kubernetes. The people who doesn't have any knowledge, it will be very easy for me to make you trained on this. And the people who are having the knowledge, it will be very helpful for me to train you on this. So one thing I request you that sir, in my company, we used to do like this in the Docker. So the people who are having a little bit knowledge about Docker and Kubernetes, they will have that knowledge and they will come and sit in the session. And when the session is going on, they might me see. My request is that once we complete the entire Docker, you will get a complete picture clear about what is this entire Docker. Okay, so in between that, in my company, we are using like this. You might be using like that also. In between that, if you don't include your company related project here, once we complete the entire Docker, okay, once we complete the Docker, then you can question me that, sir, in our company, we are using like this. and you are saying like this, how we can integrate both the things. So then I can explain you on that. Okay. Apart from that, you might be using something in your company. Don't get into that, get that into the sessions. Why? Because the company related environment will be different and generalized environment will be different. So here we are going to talk about the complete generalized environment, how we are going to deploy Docker, how we are going to work with the Docker. Once it is completed, then we will have a question on answer session at least for 30 minutes. After completing the Docker, then I will answer all your questions so that we will get a clarity picture clear about what is happening in your company and as well as what we have discussed. Okay, right. So, yeah, the technicalities. So first and foremost thing is why we need to go into the Docker. Before I talk about the Docker, why we need to go into the Docker. Previously, what we used to have, and now what we are having. So if you see the word DevOps was not known by, I mean, maybe a few persons know about this Docker, know about this DevOps, but before 2015 or else before 2014, nobody knows the DevOps term. So we used to have certain terms called as developers. There will be developers, and there will be, what I can say, there will be testing people who has the testing knowledge. They are called as testers or testing people. And there will be the second category is testing, and there will be system administration. Okay, system administration. I am into this system admins. At that time also nobody knows what is a system administrator. Now also nobody knows what are the work of a system administrator. Some people will have in their mind that we are going to do some admin task. We are here to do some admin task. We are into the non-technical team, but actually we are into the technical team only. We are more responsible for server configurations, system management, and security management. All this will comes under the administration part only. But anyways, uh, when I speak to one of my colleague or else when I speak to some neighbors of me, when I say I'm a system administrator, what is the system administrator? We didn't hear about that. We heard only about the software engineers or your software engineers. How I have to explain that. So, anyways, the point is we used to have developers, testing people, system administrators. So these are a few category of people who will be working inside an IT company, IT firm. So nobody have at that particular point of time in 2014 or 2015, we don't have a term called as DevOps engineer. So if you see the job portals also, when you see the job portals also like Naukri or Shine or any another job portals, Monster, on that particular job portals also we want some Java developers, we want the Python developers, we want the testing people who is having a knowledge on Selenium, and we want the candidates who is having a very good knowledge on system hardware and administration part related to Windows Server or Linux Server. Those will be the at that particular point of time, those will be the jobs. But nowadays, when you see any job portal, definitely one thing is required. That is, we want a DevOps engineer who can work like, of course, we have the developers also. We want the DevOps engineer with some Python knowledge or else with Java knowledge. So they are going to ask like that. I attended an interview. Just my day-to-day activities will be completed within some 4 hours or 5 hours. Then I will see some portals and I will apply for an job over there. So when I check out the portals, I can see there will be a few jobs that are linked with the development also. I'm not a developer, but I'm talking about that. So the people are expecting the full stack knowledge for each and every person, each and every employee. Nowadays, everyone are expecting that low price, heavy duration, or else heavy knowledge. Okay, so we will provide you only this much amount of salary, but we want the complete knowledge about that. The system is like that. We cannot do anything. Nowadays, AI is replacing the entire employees. So the system is turning out to be like that. Now the people who are having a very good knowledge on, in the beginning, they asked about the developers and system administrators. Later, it came to cloud and DevOps. Now it is going to the AI integration part. Now the system is completely changing. Every 10 years, the system is going to be changed. But the point is now we are into the DevOps, and as well as they are asking about Gen AI also, generative AI, and as well as AI integrations. So basic concepts are required, but I am not talking about this. We'll come back to that later. Whenever if there is any new course that I am going to introduce, I will talk about that. So as of now, we will have the full-fledged attention towards this DevOps. So in general, when you go back to some 2000 or 2005, okay, at that particular point of time, in the IT company, so when we talk about the IT company, what we used to have. So when you see here, as per me, I'm not talking about the other persons, as per me, in general, there are two companies in the entire world. So if you take in any company or else any organization, there are only two types. One is non-IT company, and the other one is an IT company. Okay. So what are these non-IT companies like banks, any entertainment sector, or else what I can say medical sector? These are all comes under the non-IT companies. And the IT companies, IT company who will support this non-IT company by creating the applications, whatever that are requested by them, and as well as providing the infrastructure for them related to if they want some servers or also if they want uh, uh, what else security configurations. So we are going to provide that. So those are the IT companies. For example, let me take a banking sector. So there is a bank. So if you go back to some 2000 and 2005, at that particular point of time, or else up to 2010 also, on that time, if you want to deposit some money, nowadays entire world has turned around. Why? Because if you want to send some money to one person to the another person, it is very easy. We have the digital payments. Everyone are sending to the phone pay, GPay, or else now so many apps has came. I don't want to talk about that, but it became very easy. But previously, when in 2000 and 2005, at that particular point of time, if you want to deposit your money, so first of all, you have to go to the bank, you need to write a deposit form, and then you have to submit it to the employee. He has to deposit the money. So it is a very big problem. I mean, it is going to take somewhere like 2 hours or else at least 1 hour. Why? Because we have to stand in a very big queue. So that is altogether a different plan. Now, what happened here? This bank, the banking people thought that I don't want my customers to struggle this much. So to overcome this problem, we need to launch an application. Let us talk about the IT company. Let us talk into the IT company and get an application done. So this bank will tie up with an IT company. For this, again, there will be bidding and all the things will be there. I don't want to talk about that in detail. But one of the IT company was selected by the bank. So now what they are going to do here is they will have a chit chat with the complete. They will have a clear cut formal meeting with this IT company, and they will sit with the managers, developers, and as well as development team manager and the system administrators with all those people. They will sit and they will provide the requirements. What is my requirement? So in my bank, there are so many different types of accounts are there. In general, there will be retail accounts, corporate accounts, and then we will have the loan accounts. So debit cards, credit card services, like that. Whatever the services that the banks will provide, they will give us the complete requirement. These many number of services are there. These many number of customers are there. At any given point of time, any customer can be logging in. So we want to have a redundant and without any failure. We need to have an highly available application to the end customers. So the customer should not be highly available in the sense the customer should not face any downtime of the application. So these are my requirements. So if you can provide an application which is more redundant, so we will be very happy with all the requirements. So that is called as now what IT company will do. They will gather the requirements. Okay, they will gather the requirements. Once the banking people has given the entire requirements, then what developers will do? Developers will have an what I can say. They will have an interaction. They one-on-one session will be there. Everyone will talk to each other, and they will start preparing the application. I mean, before starting the application, they will design this. How many microservices we need to have, what should be the front end, what should be the back end, and what should be the database. So everything will be coordinated, and that is nothing but designing. Okay. And then we will go with the implementation, like creating the entire code for the application, front end code, back end code, and database. So connect everything. This will comes under the implementation. Once implementation is done, okay, once implementation is done, then what we are going to do, okay, then we are going for the testing of this application. But before testing of the application has to deploy in a machine. So that machine is either it might be your server. So it might be a Windows server, or else it might be a Linux server. So previously we used to have the servers in the IT company. Okay. Now also we have the servers only, but we are getting it from some another data centers or from the cloud environment. But previously we used to have the servers. So creating a server is not a very easy thing. So if you want to create a server, what you have to do, or else if you want to install the application, whatever you have created, for example, an application is created by your entire IT team. And if you want to deploy this application on a server, first and foremost thing is that you need to have the hardware, okay, the server hardware. So for that, first you need to talk to the finance team that we want to order an server. Then the finance team will tell that who is the OEM. Okay. So then talk to the OEM and how much price you are going to get, or else you can ask the finance team to talk to the OEM and get some discount on the server and all the things. So then what happens? We will give you the specifications with to the OEM and ask for the entire quotation. They will provide the quotation. We will talk to the accountant, I mean the finance team, and they will release the budget. And we have to talk to the OEM that this is the consolidated budget we got. This is the complete budget that we got. If you are okay with that, can you please send the server hardware? So they will take some 1 week to send the server hardware. Once you got the server hardware, then you need to, first of all, you should not connect the server directly to the network. So what you have to do is you need to first check is any operating system is pre-installed or not. So if you want, you can install an operating system, and then you need to check everything, securities and all the things you have to configure, and then you have to connect it to the network. So once the server is connected to the network, then you need to launch the application. Then you have to create this application by installing all the dependencies. Okay, so here we will install the application and we will run the application in the server. Now you need to understand one point. Server will not come with a lower specification. So like it is just not a client system. Client system in the sense the computers which you are using, computers, laptops and all things. So if your laptop will get somewhere like a i5 processor or i7 processor with 16 GB of RAM. Server hardware is not like the normal computers. Server hardware is a little bit different. Like it will be using the server CPUs, like Xenon processor. Intel, especially in Intel, if I talk, there is a processor called as Xenon processor is there. So we need to get that processor with high processing speeds, and as well as we need to have a huge amount of RAM should be there. We should not get very less amount of RAM. Somewhere like we are going to get some 256 GB of RAM, or else 128 to 256 GB of RAM. Some servers will go around 1 TB of RAM also. I'm talking about the RAM. We will be using 1 TB of RAM also. So like that, the server specification is very huge. Okay, but inside that, what we are running a single application only. For a single application, when we purchase this much amount of server, then that will be not optimizedly run. So if you are running a server for a single application, then that will not run in a required fast or else required environment. Why? Because we have huge resources, but we are running only a single application. Then what is the use of purchasing that? Anyways, so we'll come back to that. How to optimize that server, how to use the resources very usefully, and how we are going to work out with this server. But the main problem is that for a single application, when we purchase a server, then that will be completely misused. Okay, the resources will not be completely used. Only 10% might be, most probably 10% of the resources will be used, 90% of the resources are not used, then what is the need of purchasing it? You can ask me, sir, we can purchase a low level server also. At that time, the application might go around some of the applications like Python or Java is there. Okay, when you run those applications at the beginning, they require huge amount of RAM and CPU for starting that application. Later, they might not require that much amount of RAM, CPU and RAM. So that points are also taken into the consideration, and we have to purchase the server for the future expansion. Also, we need to think. So we have to put everything into our brain that whenever we want to purchase a server, what are the criteria and what is the future we need to think about the future also. So by taking all the points into the consideration, we are going to purchase a server. Why? Because server is not like a computer. So if you are having some 50,000, you will get a best computer in the market. But servers will not come at 50,000. Whatever the hardware that we are talking, they will be coming across somewhere like 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs. When you are putting an investment of 3 lakhs, you need to think about the future also. Tomorrow, something if I am going to deploy, so if the server doesn't have the sufficient resources, then I cannot use the server. Again, I have to purchase a server which will be costing me around some 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs. So that I need to put in my brain. So whenever we are talking about the server specification, so that's why what happens means the system administrators or else the infrastructure development team, they will check out all the requirements and they will declare a server. Okay, they will suggest a server which is helpful for the future expansion also. So by taking all this into the consideration, we will purchase this. So the problem is resources will be misutilized or else underutilized. Anyways, we'll come back to that. So then what happens once the application is created inside the server, then the testing people will do the testing. And if they find out any bugs or else anything, any problematic condition over there, then they will suggest it back to the developer saying that these are the bugs that we have found out. And at this particular point of page, we are getting this error. So they are going to suggest the errors and the development team has to reconfigure it and redeploy into the servers. And finally, it will come to the production and then we have to do the monitoring and maintenance. So this is the entire life cycle. So we will call it as SDLC, software development life cycle, where requirement gathering, design, implementation, testing, taking into the live, and finally you will be going with the monitoring, management and monitoring. So these are the things. Now, when we talk about the servers, let us come to only about the servers. So this is the software development lifecycle, which we have completed. When we talk about the servers, the major problem is resources are underutilized. So now what is the solution for this? So, and not only that, in this environment, when you take a server, in the server environment, as a development, so there will be three types of environment in the IT industry. What are the three types of environments? Any experienced candidate, you can talk about that.
Dev,
Whenever you are
test, and production.
dev, staging,
UAT,
I will call it as
UAT
staging.
test, yeah.
UAT, or else I will make it as UAT, user acceptance testing. And the final you will get prod. Okay, these are the three stages that we are going to get. So now development servers. So whenever you create your application, the development servers will be totally in the hand of IT people only. Okay, so when you ask for a server, okay, so you will contact with the banking team that we want the server, whether you will provide the server or else we need to get our own server. So if they say that okay, you can take your own servers, we will pay whatever the server, how much amount of servers that you are getting, we will pay for that. So then what we will do, we will contact our nearest data centers will be there. So now what happens, the IT team will contact to the nearest data centers, or else if they have their own data centers, they will create a server over there. Anyways, the point what you need to understand here is that development servers will be totally in the hands of IT employees. Whatever the environment that they want, they can create that. Okay, so simply if I have to say, what I can say, yeah. So I want to cook a food, some dish. Okay, so I got some increment, or else I want get some. I got some promotion in my company. So when I got some promotion in my company, I just want to give a party to my friends. So I invited all my friends to my all my colleagues to my home, and I want to prepare a dish for my friends. I have all the ingredients in my home. So if they are not available, I will get them. So I have the full-fledged control over my environment. So I will get them and I will prepare the dish. And that is like in the development environment. So for example, if the developer has created an application, okay, some Java application with the dependencies, whatever the dependencies that he want, he can create those dependencies, and he created an application, whatever the required application, he created it. And what happens here, when I deploy that application on the server with all the I am talking about the dependencies, with all the dependencies that is set by the developer. So I will install all the dependencies, whatever required, and with that dependencies, the application will be running. So without any problem, the application will be running. But when you go into the production environment, it is something like going to some another home and cooking the food. Okay, so if you go to some one of your colleague home, so at that particular, there is some weekend. So he said that we let us have some what I can say, movie night. Okay, this weekend we will have some movie night. We will cook whatever we want, and we'll start watching some movies. So if your colleague has offered you that, then what you will do, you will go to his home, right? So when you go to the home of your colleague, the environment will be completely different. So if you want to cook the same dish in your colleague's environment, that is not possible. Okay. So why? Because he may not have the ingredients. You can ask him to get the ingredients, but it is his wish to get it or not. So he can say that whatever is there, you can cook from that. So whatever the dish that you have prepared in your environment in the sense in your kitchen, the same dish if you want to cook in your colleague's kitchen, it is not possible. It might not be possible. Why? Because the ingredients might be different. So your colleague will refuse. I mean, I don't want to get anything. So use whatever you are having and create the dish. So at that particular point of time, the dish might not be same as you cook in your home. So here also, when you come to the production level, when you come to the production level, the servers that are given by the client or the server that are given by the bank will not have that compatible application. I mean, that compatible dependencies that will run with the application. So in your application, you will be creating all the dependencies. You will be installing all the dependencies in the development environment. But if you take this application and deploy the same application in the production grade, in the production environment, the application will be missing some dependencies. When you ask the banking team or else your client, the client will say that, no, I cannot provide that dependency. Why? Because already a few applications are running in the previous dependency, so I cannot run that application in the production server. So try some another new way to create the application. Then again, we have to tell to the developers that this application will not run in the production grade. Again, you have to down the dependencies, version down the dependencies, and give me the application, and he has to work on that. Again, this is a very big process. So these problems that we are going to face in a development environment and the production environment level problems will be there. So to overcome all these problems, to overcome whatever the problems that you are facing in the physical level of the servers or else in the environment level of the application, we are going with a concept of containerization. In between that, we need to understand about the virtualization, in which ways we'll discuss about that. But containerization or containers. So now what is this containers or else what is a container? Container is an environment or else container is an environment in which you will be having the application and its dependencies. So in container, we are not going to install the full-fledged operating system. So in containers, what we are going to do here is we are going to use the operating system environment. And inside that, we are going to create only the application and its dependencies. So it's just like an ordering the food from the hotel. So we are just going to get a pack of food from the hotel, which will have all the required ingredients and everything. We'll be getting it. So if you want to eat biryani, so now what you will do, you don't want to cook it. So simply what you will do, you will get that package from the hotel. I mean the biryani from the hotel. You can unpack that and you can eat. Simple thing. Here also containers will have the package of application and its dependencies. So container is an environment which will have the application and its dependency. What are the type of application? What is meant by these dependencies? We'll talk in detail about this containerization when we go into the Docker. So before containers, what we used to have? Sir, you said that we will have the containers. Inside the containers, we don't have any operating system, but we are going to use the operating system environment. That is the case. In containers, please try to understand the point. In containers, we are not going to use the operating system. We will be using the operating system environment. Then without operating system, then without kernel, how an application will be running? Here we got a new word called as kernel. What is this kernel and what we are going to work, how we are going to work with this kernel, we'll discuss about that. But anyways, going into the kernel, before I want to know about, are you with me? Are you following the concept? Any questions here? Any confusions? Any questions? Yeah, tell me.
No, sir.
Manish. Okay. Shubham, do you want to talk anything? Ashish, Saurabh, Lavanya.
No, sir.
Okay, good. So let us talk about the kernel. What is this kernel? So I will go back to this. Let us talk about the virtualization. Okay, from virtualization, we will go back into the containerization. So now when we talk about the physical servers, what I'm talking here, the physical servers will not be totally utilized. They will be underutilized. For a single application, we cannot have a physical server. But if I want to run the multiple application, the environment sometimes will not support. Okay, so if I want to run a Java 21, where already Java 8 application is running, it is a little bit difficult. Nowadays, we are having the Java alternatives where we can run the application. But before this, I'm talking about somewhere like 2000 or 2005. So then what we used to have, or else if there is any dependency clash happens, okay, for one application to the another application, then what we have to do. So all these things keeping in the mind, we are going into a concept of virtualization. Now, what is this virtualization? Simple. You have a company, you order a server hardware. So you will get the server hardware. For example, this is the server hardware which you are getting. Now, virtualization is a technology where the entire hardware will be divided into logical units. And I mean, what I want to say here is, for example, I have a computer, and in this computer, I want to run multiple computers, multiple logical computers. Then that can be happened with the help of a concept called as virtualization. Simple. I have a hard disk. You purchased a hard disk, guys. So if you are having some 1 TB of hard disk, you want to divide that hard disk into 400 GB for C drive and 300 GB for D drive and 300 GB for E drive. Are you going to break the hard disk, or else are you going to logically divide the hard disk into multiple partitions? How you are going to do that? Will you break the hard disk? So what we are going to do, whatever the hard disk that we got, we are going to divide that into a logical partition. So this is what I said you. So I did not ask you a very, very tough question. No? I asked you a basic question. If you have a hard disk, will you break the hard disk to make the partitions, or else will you divide that hard disk into logical partitions? Everyone can answer that. Everyone will see that in your computer. There will be C drive, E drive, and D drive. So we are not going to break that. We are logically dividing the partition. That is what I asked. Interaction means. So when we coming back to the point here, whatever the hardware that we are having, for example, I purchased a server hardware where we used to have 16 CPU and 256 GB of RAM. Okay, so I purchased this hardware. Now I don't want to run a single application inside this hardware, so I want to divide the hardware into logical computers or else logical servers. So this entire physical server, whatever you are seeing, the entire physical server can be divided into logically multiple servers. So if I have to show you, just give me a second. Actually, I have a server. I will just show you. So how I can divide that single server into multiple physical, I have a single physical server, how I can divide that into multiple logical missions. So I have a server where 8 CPU, 32 GB of RAM. Now what I have done here is I divided that server into multiple logical virtual machines. So that is what virtualization is all about. So just 1 second. I am having VMware installed on my system, which means the virtualization technology. So here on my server hardware, I am using a virtualization technology called as VMware. Okay. And in this VMware, I installed a few servers for my research and development, and for my practice, I created some servers. Let me show you them. So if you see, root is correct. Yeah. Here you can see I am having some 5 virtual machines which are running. I have a Ubuntu server and Kubernetes master server, and I am having an Active Directory server. So if you see, I installed an Ubuntu. Basically, I just want to test any CI/CD pipelining. I am having my Ubuntu server. Okay, so if I want to access that, what is the networking? That is 192.168.0.106. And I am having my Kubernetes on-premises Kubernetes deployment was happened, and that is running on this server. So there is another server that is 192.168.0.150. And I am having an Active Directory server, so which is an Windows server, and 192.168.0.100. So these are the servers that I am having, which I installed on my server. I have a full-fledged server unit in my home. So with the help of that server, I created multiple servers, which means that this physical entity was divided into multiple logical servers. So here, one is for Kubernetes, one is for Active Directory, and the other one is for Jenkins pipeline or else any CI/CD configuration. I created these many number of servers. So these servers will get the hardware from my physical hardware. So inside the servers, what I have done, I installed the full-fledged operating system. Here I am having an operating system installed for the Ubuntu. Okay, the operating system which I have installed is Ubuntu, and inside that I am running some applications. So in the same manner, what happens in all the other servers also, I am going to do the same. I will install the Ubuntu operating system, or else I will install the Windows operating system, and I will run the servers. But when you come here, this is the Windows server. Okay, just to show you, let me do one thing. I'll go to 192.168.0.100, connect, and I provide the password now. So I'm able to connect to my Windows server. Okay, so this is my Windows server, which I'm using to integrate my Active Directory to the Azure Active Directory and configure the security for my AWS users. Okay, that is altogether a different project which I'm doing right now. But anyways, so that is what I want to show you the configuration, which means that I will be having, or else in the company, there will be some physical servers. You are going to get some physical servers, whatever. As per my financial condition, I got a physical server of some 16 CPU, 64 GB of RAM. But in the company, what is going to happen? You are going to get a server with some 16 CPU, 256 GB of RAM, or also 1 TB of RAM also, and you are going to divide each and every that entire physical server into multiple virtual machines. Now here you need to note one point. When we are dividing a physical server into virtual machines, we are installing the operating system, installing OS. But when I talk about the containers, I said you one thing. So we are not going to install any operating system inside the container. We are going to use the environment. So installing the operating system means, what is the meaning of installing operating system? So let us go back to some 1980. Okay, from there, let us understand the operating system evaluation. From 1970, we will start, and then we will come back to 1980, and then for today's environment. So the first operating system, the first user-friendly operating system was introduced in the year 1970, which is an Unix operating system. this operating system is developed by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie. But they made this operating system, whatever we are calling so and so operating system, like AX or else Sun Solaris. These are all comes under the Unix flavors. So they gave this operating system as a premium operating system. Premium in the sense you need to purchase them. So then there comes another scientist called as Richard Stallman. What he has said here is why I need to purchase the operating system. When I am purchasing the entire hardware, I need to get the operating system for free of cost. Then he started working on an operating system called as GNU. Okay, he started on a free operating system, freeware operating system, open source operating system called as GNU. But he failed to develop the kernel. For any operating system, kernel is the backbone. Without kernel, the operating system will not be created. Why? Because what is the functionality of a kernel means kernel will do the process management. If I want to run an application, how much amount of processor that should be provided. If I want to run the application, how much amount of RAM I have to, I mean the RAM that application has to get, which means memory management, process management. So whatever the application want, all those configuration will be given by the kernel. Without kernel, the operating system is not functional. Okay, the applications will not run. So now here the point is without kernel. So the Richard Stallman failed to develop the kernel. Now what happened? He has waited. He has to wait until 1991, where there is a person called as Linus Torvalds. He introduced the kernel. Okay, so the Linux kernel. They integrated this GNU and Linux, and they formed the first Linux flavor, that is GNU Linux operating system. From there, we got so many distributions like we got the Debian, we got Fedora, we got CentOS, we got Red Hat, and then we got SUSE Linux, Parrot Linux, Mint, Arc, like that. Right now in Linux environment, we are having somewhere like some 5,000 distributions are there. Why? Because they made the source code as an open source. Okay, so don't worry about that. But the basic concept is kernel. What is kernel? Kernel is the backbone of your operating system, which will be helpful for running the application. Okay, so now here what happened in the entire virtualization platform, in my virtual machines, I am directly installing the operating system. When I install the operating system, and inside this virtual machine, I will install the application. And after installing the application, or else before installing the application, I need to create all the dependencies. If I am installing a Java application, I need to use the Java runtime. To build the application, I need to create the Maven, and there will be certain another dependencies will be there. All the dependencies I have to install. So I will install the application and as well as application dependencies. But one thing here is we need to have, so for example, if I want to move this, or else if I want to pack this entire virtual machine, so this entire virtualization is in the development environment. If I want to pack this entire virtual machine which I have created in the development environment, and I want to put it on the production environment, I want to send this virtual machine to the production environment, that is going to be very, very hectic task. Why? Because I need to pack the entire virtual machine. Packing of entire virtual machine in the sense, you need to pack the operating system, kernel, and unwanted dependencies. Like the inside the operating system, whenever you are installing the operating system, some of the unwanted dependencies will be there. And finally, you need to pack the application and the application dependencies. So these are all going to be very. So when you pack the entire virtual machine, you are going to get an size, or else the virtual machine size will be into, or else the what I can say compressed form of your virtualization will be coming into some 20 GB to 30 GB, where you need to move that entire package from the development environment to some another environment. Again, you have to unpack it and then you have to install it. So this will become a very hectic task in the virtualization component. So it is simply if I have to tell you, if you want to go for a tour, okay, whether you will pack all the whatever the objects that belongs to you in your home. Like for example, you have a room. In your room, you are having the computers. A very big computer is there. You have a bed. You have an AC, and all the things are there. So if you want to go for a tour, will you pack all this and you will travel to the other place and for 2 to 3 days and you will come back to your home with all the things? Is it going to happen? Or else you are going to pack only the required dependencies for you. So if you want to go for a tour, I will put some of my clothes and I will go to my tour and I will finish off that complete camping and I will come back. So how you are going to do? So virtualization is like packing of each and every object and going to the destination. Packing of each and every object will take you a huge effort. But when you come to the containerization, here we are not going to pack each and everything. Here we are not going to use the operating system. Here we are going to use only the operating system environment. Even kernel won't be there inside the container. So you can ask me, sir, without kernel, how we will be working with the containers? So what happens means it's just like another application. You will have the hardware like your computer. On top of the hardware, you are going to have an operating system that is called as host operating system like Windows or Linux. On top of that, we are going to install the Docker. On Docker, we will be running the containers. So inside the containers, we will be working with the application. For example, this is the container. So step by step, let us see. We will get the hardware. On top of the hardware, we will have an operating system. On top of OS, we will be having the Docker application installed. Docker also any containerization platform, RKT, Docker, Podman, any type of operating system we are going to install. On top of that, we will be running the containers. On top of container, we will be running the application. But the question is, as the container is not having the full-fledged operating system, it doesn't have the kernel, then how application will be running? So whenever the application is required the CPU and RAM to run the application, we need the CPU and RAM. The application will communicate with the Docker or else with the container, and from the container, the communication will be eventually happen to the Docker. Now this Docker will communicate with the OS. So the host operating system, I said, on the hardware, we will have the Windows operating system or else Linux operating system. So the Docker will communicate with the operating system. And in this operating system, you will have the kernel. So the containers will use the host operating system kernel to provide the required processor, that is the process management, memory management for your containerized application can be done with the help of host kernel. So here your container will be very, very lightweight. Why? Because we are not installing the operating system. As we are not installing the operating system, there won't be any sort of unwanted dependencies will not be there. You will have only the wanted dependencies. So your image will be around 200 to 300 MB or else maximum 500 MB. So when you talk about the virtualization, there we used to have the GBs of data. That entire package has come into only the MBs. So you can simply transfer this container from one environment to the another environment. There we can run the containers. How we are going to run the containers and what we are going to do, that we will see in the next session. But as of now, what you need to understand here is the containerized application, whatever the application that we are running on the containers, they will not use they won't have any kernel. So this application will be using the kernel related to your operating system, whatever the host operating system is there. On the host operating system kernel, the hardware will be providing the required CPU and RAM for the applications to run. So this is what the simple containers. And these containers will not have any unwanted dependencies. They will have the dependencies that are required for your application. So that is about your containerization platform. So any questions you can ask?
Yeah, Chaitanya. Let's suppose the application depend on operating system. Let's suppose we have made an application depend on operating system, and since your container is installed over the operating system, right? And an operating system like Linux, and my application is working on Windows, then how it will manage?
Then you will have the WSL. Windows subsystem for Linux will be installed on your, whenever you are installing the Docker itself, it will ask for you to install a WSL dependency.
You mean to say Docker will only work on Linux server? Is that me?
I don't say it will work. I did not say you that it will work on the Linux server. I can run the Docker on Windows or platform also.
No, you
You
said
are
that
asking
WSL we need it. That's why I'm telling.
Sorry?
You said WSL we need it, right? We need WSL,
Yeah.
right? which will create a Linux environment.
Yeah. So that is what. See, if your operating system is a Windows operating system, on top of Windows operating system, you want to run a Linux container. So which is the container is in the Linux environment and your operating system is in the Windows environment. So the kernels will be different. Now, if the Docker has to communicate or else the container has to communicate and it has to request the request the Windows kernel to provide the proper hardware for the container which is on Linux environment, there should be a translator, no? So there should be a communicator who will be talking about whatever the request that is done by the container to my Windows operating system. So that's why we are going to install. Whenever you are installing any Docker, first and foremost thing is that the most required part is that you need to install Windows subsystem for Linux. So without installing that, if you want to run the Linux, first of all, if you want to install the Docker desktop itself, it won't be accepted without the WSL. Definitely you need to install that dependency. Then only you can create the Linux related containers and you can run on your Docker environment. Okay.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
Questions, guys? Did you understand the topic or not? At least tell me that, so that I will have a clarity that, okay, these are in this level, so I can go with this particular kind of training. Otherwise, how I will know that you will be able to understand or not? Tell me yes or no. That is what I asked you in the beginning. Okay.
Can you please repeat
Mhm.
image, which is those can be run on the Linux environment, Linux OS?
Yeah, most probably the Windows environment we are not going to see, but if there is any possibility, I will try to explain you about that. Okay. Most probably the containers will be the, so what your question is that how Windows containers will be running on the Linux operating system. That is what your question is, right? Or sorry, your voice is a little bit low. Can you please repeat the question once?
That is my question. How the Windows of the Linux OS?
Okay, we'll see that when we go into the containerization. Right now, if I talk about that, no, you will get more confusing. Why? Because I need to talk about the installing the Docker. After that, I will try to create the containers. There we will discuss about that. I will put this in my brain. So whenever I will, whenever we are talking about the installing the Docker, at that time I will tell you about how we can create the containers. Okay. Great. Thank you. Anything else, guys? Joshua, Manish,
I'm good, sir.
Saurabh.
No
Thank you,
questions.
Joshua. Ashish. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you all, and we'll meet in the next session then. Have a nice day. And tomorrow's session will be at 8:30 only. The classes will be commenced daily. So Monday, Saturday and Sunday you will get an off. But I will see what we are going to do and how we are going to work with the configuration. So have a nice day, and we'll meet in the next session. Bye, guys. Thank you all.